Hi, my name is Erin and I'm a pediatric physical therapist with Milestone Therapy. And right now I'd like to talk with you about how to work on catching skills, starting at the very basic foundation and try to move it up to some certain challenges. So if kids are first learning how to work on catching, the important thing is to really keep it successful, let them learn the basics of what they should be doing with their arms and keeping their eyes on the target, and giving them something to catch that's going to make it successful for them. So in your home, you can just take a big pair of socks that you have and ball them up. Nice bright color will help keep the eyes on the target. And you can just teach the children to position their hands as if they're going to be carrying a bowl of ice cream or a bowl of soup. I'm sure that they've all been motivated to carry their ice cream over to the table, perhaps. So this is a really good position, pretending there's a round ball in their hands for the target to kind of safely land into them, making a basket almost. So if someone can help out, that would be great, and they can just drop the ball of socks or a bean bag into their hands from this distance, so they can work on this motion. A way that children can work on that themselves and really have to focus on their eyes while they're doing it is to kind of hold it under their chin, get their hands in their bowl, and drop it and catch. Okay? So super simple, not too difficult. If they have a pretty good balance, they can even try doing that while they're standing on one leg. So sometimes increasing the challenge of the activity will improve their attention to the task at the time for new learning. So just another little tidbit. So graduating from a ball of socks or perhaps a stuffed animal or a beanbag if it's available, you can have that other person maybe toss it to them from a farther distance, or start to take on more of a rounder shape such as a ball. I like to use one of these infant balls here, only because if their hands are not quite in the same position or the perfect position for catching, but the ball might get caught on a finger, it still improves that feeling of success in catching and therefore the motivation to keep working on it. So for lack of having another person at the time, just going to show you what they can do on their own to practice, just taking the ball and just try to toss it up and catch. Okay, so again, you can have another person throw it to them, starting at a very short distance away, and then increasing the challenge by having that person toss it from a farther distance away. Okay, again, just trying to get it directly in front of them at the time. So a great way to challenge catching skills is to start using asymmetrical shapes, just really odd shaped toys or crazy little balls would be great. Starting to work more on regular balls that they might have at a playground or gym class or in the garage and backyard. The larger of those balls, within reason of course, would make it a little more successful, and then going to a smaller ball makes it much more difficult to position the hands precisely to catch that when it's coming at them. But again, starting each time you increase part of that challenge by changing what ball you're using, I would really just back up or come closer to the child so that they can feel successful first with the ball dropping into their own hand, and then maybe from a friend or parent or sibling from increasingly farther space away from them at the time. Another way to work on the challenge would be to have that ball thrown and caught by working on different positions with their body. So right now we call this half kneeling in the therapy world. So it's one knee down, one leg up. We talked a little bit about standing on one leg, but to make it a little easier, if the child's just sitting fully supported on the floor and just only having to concentrate on the hands, that just might be where that child is and where they need to start working on the catching skill, and that's okay. But I'm going to just show you ways to make it a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to toss it to our videographer here. He needs to work on one-handed catching and then tossing it back. Okay? And then having that ball thrown to different angles, so coming up in diagonal patterns across the body. Might come up here, might come down here, and having to reach far to catch it. Oh, I need to practice that skill. So you get the idea on that. Progressing from using 2 hands to 1 hand, of course, is another way to challenge. Let's use this ball for the therapist. So once we talked about catching a tossed object, now it would be to start working on those skills in a more independent level. So being able to bounce and catch a ball. So what we mean by that is just bounce the ball and catch it, okay? Bounce it and catch it. Pretty simple. Simple to explain, not so simple to learn. So a lot of times what I find successful is just give that child a target to stand on, and then another target to try to bounce the ball on, okay? Because if they're bouncing that ball at an angle, the ball will not come back to them. It's going to project in that direction. So just kind of having them bounce it straight down to that target will teach them that that ball will come back up where they're going to be able to catch it. Okay, what we don't want to have is the ball going over there, they're running to go catch the ball every time. It's just not going to be an organized learning experience. So giving those visual markers is great. You don't necessarily have to have toys like this or rings or anything. You just, if you have a piece of chalk or a leaf, you can put a leaf on the driveway and have them bounce and try to catch that leaf. That will work the same way. Good way to advance that, once they get that concept, is to have them work on bouncing and catching while they're walking. So I'm going to just back up. Okay, all the time. At this point, I'm having them keep their eyes on the ball. Ways to advance that would be to have their head looking forward or turning their head in different directions. It's going to challenge that peripheral system, knowing where the ball is in space. So I'm just going to keep my eyes forward. I'm not sure I've mastered turning my head side to side and catching, but I'll try it. Oh, I still need to look at the ball. And that's okay too. It's not bouncing so well on the grass today. Walking backwards, catching the ball. Okay, I'm going to try what I think I may be not able to do, but I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to turn my head. Every time I bounce the ball, I'm going to turn my head to another direction. I do need to keep looking, making sure I'm throwing the ball in the right way and making sure I'm moving in the right direction, but it's just a way to advance it and just try. So as we talked earlier, moving from a larger kickball size for catching to a smaller tennis ball size is a great way to add the challenge. Again, anytime we increase one part of that challenge, we want to back down with the other parts of the challenge to keep it successful. So if I change the ball to be a smaller ball, what I would do is just have them concentrate on keeping their body still, having the ball bounce and catch. Okay, keeping their eye on the ball and the target, and then trying to move to the point where they don't need their eyes. A little bit more of a challenge for me. Standing on one leg, again, increasing that challenge a little bit so that they have to focus on 2 things at once. Be sure to have them practice on both legs. Then what you can do is have them work on the bouncing and catching with one hand. So, once I am right-handed, so I automatically try it with my right hand, but now I'm going to challenge myself and do it with my left. Okay, if you want to get both sides involved, we can switch hands. Okay. So, an important thing to keep in mind is just keeping the activity successful and fun, interesting, adding variety. Keep keeps their interest in wanting to learn. So thank you.